Hey, Park Central folks. Welcome to this week's Kitchen Counter Conversation. This is the week in the life of the church when we celebrate the ascension of Jesus. Imagine what it must have been like to be one of the disciples at that time. Jesus had been crucified and God had raised him from the dead. Jesus had appeared among them over a period of time and was eating and drinking and offered them peace. And even though God had done these radically new and unexpected things, the disciples still thought they knew what was going to happen next. They gathered with Jesus and said, "Lord, is this the time? Is this the time when you're going to restore the kingdom to Israel?" They think they know what God is up to. But instead, Jesus tells them it's not up to you to know the time, but you will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes upon you, and you will be my witnesses. And then Jesus is lifted up and taken out of their sight. And nobody had imagined that. So once again, God did not do what they had expected. God did something new. And I imagine they felt a bit lost. They just stood there to begin with, just looking up into heaven. And I was thinking to myself, these days it is pretty easy to feel lost. And I'm pretty certain that anything that I think God is going to do or should do is probably likely not what God is going to do at all, because God does things that are new and unexpected. I read somewhere this week that it is okay to feel lost in this time, but that doesn't necessarily mean feeling abandoned. I think that was true of the disciples. They didn't know what their lives were going to be like, but they did know enough to follow Jesus' instructions. They did know to stay put, to stay together, and so they did. And they prayed, and they likely did feel lost, sort of on the threshold between one way of life and another, between one time and another, but they were not abandoned. God had not abandoned them. But life the way they had known it was no more. And the way ahead, well, honestly, there just was no way ahead yet. But they did know enough to follow Jesus' instructions. They did trust what he had said. You will receive power. You will be my witnesses. How might that be helpful for us today if we're feeling a bit lost? One of the brothers from the Society of St. John the Evangelist wrote this: "Perhaps at this moment in your journey with Jesus, you are not seeing or perceiving how God is working in your life, how Jesus is present with you amidst the world's bewildering confusion and suffering. If so, if you're feeling lost, take Jesus at his word. We will come to know God's presence with us by following the example of Jesus, by teaching and healing, by listening to our neighbors, and by doing acts of love and mercy even in the face of those who wish us ill." Strong words. So if you feel lost, that's so normal, but it can feel so scary. Know that God has not abandoned us. And we will come to know and trust that again more and more deeply as we keep following Jesus, just bit by bit, just step by step, just maybe one thing today. Just know that God is still at work in the world, and God is still at work in and through us. Keep praying. Keep listening for God. Keep listening to each other. Keep doing acts of love and mercy. Just keep on, bit by bit. We may be lost, but we are not abandoned. Thanks be to God. We'll talk again soon.